Hi, I'm Steve Taylor from Taylor Automotive. Hope you enjoy this behind-the-scenes view of our Taylor team as we take you inside the Taylor huddle.
Hi, Tom Cole. Welcome into the Taylor 3-Minute Thursday. Honor and privilege to be with you, Jerry. Thanks so much for sitting down with us. And
my pleasure.
First of all, tell us a little bit about your family, Jerry.
So just last month, I celebrated my 28th wedding anniversary with my wife, Tina.
Congratulations.
It was kind of an interesting happening back in December 12th of 1990.
Okay.
I got out of the Marine Corps and I came.
Thank you for your service.
You got it.
Thank you so much for your service.
Yeah. And on 3 separate anonymous occasions over a 7-day period, I bumped into this young lady. Never got her name, never got her phone. Well, I got her first name, but
just out in the general public,
yeah,
you would run into.
Three different places.
Okay. All right.
And then on the third occasion, I said, "This is too coincidental." And so then we started talking more, and then 6 months later we got.
How'd you break the ice? Did you just come up there and say, "Hey, I keep running into you"?
Yeah, I said, "This is crazy." And so that third time we spent like 2 hours together, and then she intentionally came into where I was working at, and then 6 months later we got engaged. And
oh my gosh.
28 years.
Yeah, well, again, congratulations.
2 daughters. Tabitha is 23, Tessa's 25. Tabitha lives here in Findlay, and she got married in April of 19. Her husband, Briston, lives here in Findlay. And then my oldest daughter, Tessa, graduated from Ohio State. Funny story, she got engaged on a Friday, graduated Ohio State Sunday, moved to South Carolina on Monday.
Oh my gosh.
And her fiance, Alex, they were supposed to get married last month, but because of COVID, they postponed it until October, but they live in South Carolina. And both of my daughters just recently, proud parent moment, just recently closed on their first houses.
Oh, wow.
And that was it was so funny because South Carolina, and then you have, Findlay, and they both found a house on Friday, made an offer, and that next day on Saturday, they both got the offers accepted. I mean, it was just bananas how it happened.
Wow.
But yeah, proud parent moment for sure.
Wow, that's so cool, Jerry. Back to your service as a Marine, I've always believed that, first of all, it's nothing more important than men and women that serve in our military. That's it. I mean, you've allowed us to live the lives that we live, and without you, it doesn't happen. How is your military service? Because you've been so successful at Taylor. I always believe that more people should experience the military. How has it helped you be so successful, would you say, Jerry?
So I was a really good wrestler in high school. I actually got a scholarship to
What was your weight class? What did you wrestle?
175
Okay.
in high school. And then I got a scholarship to wrestle at OU in Athens. I graduated high school when I was 17, and I went to OU, which huge party school.
You're right. Halloween parties. Halloween.
So, but I just wasn't ready. I wasn't engaged in stuff, and so I came home, and my dad's a tool and die engineer, so I worked with him for a little bit, but I knew that I didn't want to be in the factory. And then I went and watched the movie Top Gun, and I knew I didn't want to be in the Navy because I liked the Marine Corps uniform. So I enlisted in the Marine Corps and spent 4 years of growing. And I think that that's the biggest thing to answer your question, Tom, is I just grew. I just needed to mature. And the discipline definitely carried over. I was always a clean person just by nature. My room was always clean.
Oh, sure. Organized and neat and all
My
that.
sister's room was always a mess, so I always closed the door. It drive me crazy how she could be in that room. But fun fact there, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I would sit on the floor in my living room with my white T-shirt.
Right.
And I would fold them with a ruler in 4x4 squares and put them in my drawer.
Right.
I don't do that anymore, but that was just some of the
But
stuff.
You get the organization that is brought to your
life. Discipline and the intestinal fortitude. I was in Desert Storm, so I saw a little bit of activity that way, and just kind of understanding the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And then when I got out of the Marine Corps, I had 2 degrees, and I got 2 degrees in 3.5 years.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And I think that, and I was working a part-time job, plus I was a college wrestler. So I had all that going on, but I attribute a lot of that drive was instilled by the Marine Corps.
Wow, that's incredible. You do such great work at Taylor. your name is bandied about all the time by Steve, and he says great things about you. But for the folks who don't know Jerry, tell the folks what you do, Jerry.
I'm in sales.
You know,
Been selling for 25 years. Got an education degree, couldn't find a full-time teaching job.
Yeah.
Was coaching wrestling, selling suits at JCPenney's and substitute teaching. Had a wife, baby, mortgage, need to make money.
sure.
A friend of mine's sons were wrestling for me at Finley High School. I kept going in and watching in his office, he was general manager. I was watching his office, all the guys coming in, and I'm like, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. This is easy. So I talked him into letting me sell cars. He said, but you need to be a teacher. And I think that's why I'm doing the podcasting now, because I found myself in different arenas all the time, and I'm always trying to better somebody else. But he said, you gotta promise me that you're gonna go into teaching.
Right.
We'll use this as a stopgap.
Okay.
So I put my hand behind my back.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, I got you. And I never went back to formal education.
Yeah.
But I've still, again, like I said, I've always done that. So then I went through, and then Shane Kimmel called me. I was at a dealership for 10 years, and Shane Kimmel called me and, at the right time and asked me if I would like to come on board. And I said, no, I'm good where I'm at. But then I talked to my dad, and he said, well, it doesn't hurt to listen to some options.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely been a blessing. You know, the organization itself, having core values was a big deal.
Right.
You know, and
That's a lot like the military in its own way, because all the service branches have their core values.
but talk is cheap. You know, people can put that stuff
Yeah.
out there, but
Do you
when
mean
when
it?
they back it
Yeah,
up,
do
that's
they
the
mean
difference.
it?
Proved by
Yeah.
the results, and
Yeah.
obviously the results are there because
Yeah.
there's not a big turnover in our organization.
Right.
And the reason why is the owners truly care about the employees.
China and I just got done talking about that, Jerry, just a second ago. And it's I think it's a unique thing in the business world, because a lot of people, I think you hit a salient point there, a lot of people have mantras, and they write them up on cards or they give them to people, but they don't live by them, number one. And secondly, they don't mean it. You know, Steve and Mr. Taylor, they mean it. They care about the folks and they never say work for, it's always work with.
Absolutely.
You know, you can go into Steve's office anytime. I mean, I've never had a boss where you can just go in and sit down and say, hey, I'd like to run this by you, you know. He never says, oh, get out, I'm busy or whatever, you know. Or that's a dumb idea. He's never said that in his life. He says, yeah, hey, we'll think about it.
Right. Yeah. So definitely been a blessing for me and my family, and has afforded us a lot of great opportunities. My wife stayed at home, and I think that's why my kids are so successful, is because they had her constantly there.
Sure.
With them.
It makes a difference. Well, it's a blessing to Taylor, because you've been a dramatically positive force in this organization, and I've heard that from many, many, many people. So you've had a remarkable career here. Many good things yet to come.
Sure.
We're not letting you out of here. You got a long way to go.
Was this an exit interview?
No, it's not an accident. It might be mine, but you can fire me in a second. But how about Jerry for recreation? What do you do for fun? You're still in great shape. You look like you can wrestle still.
My wife and I started doing keto about January of 19, and I've lost 50 pounds.
Wow.
I'm tall, so I could carry the weight.
Yeah.
I wasn't seeing the gains in the gym. Very active. My wife was an aerobic instructor and runner. And
what's so great about keto? Well, I've heard this from other people. What's the key element there that makes it work?
Well, it's funny. This morning I had Bruce Bogusky on my podcast, and he was talking about. I said, "What's some of the best advice you ever received?" And he said, "To stay in shape."
Yeah.
He said to eat right and to stay in shape.
Right.
Because what Bruce does is he motivates people by brain empowerment. Okay. So he said there's studies that if you eat right and you exercise consistently, regularly, it opens your mind. And you're stronger with your memory, you're stronger in a number of other things. Besides that, you feel good about yourself. You get out of the shower and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, what happened?
Well, you can't wait to get to work, or you can't wait to get to the project, or, as opposed to I have to do.
So as far as a hobby, my wife and I like to exercise.
Okay.
We have 2 Australian Shepherds. We walk our dogs. We live by a park.
Cool.
We walk our dogs regularly. And then I love doing my podcast, and I started.
Yeah, which is a great idea.
Really fun.
It's a great idea. Dreams, you know, you're kind of living all your dreams. You know, you've laid it out. You're doing this, but again, I think that discipline that you have, that military, you know, where I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, now I'm going to do this. It gives you an advantage over a lot of people. I think that, you know, maybe some people say, well, I think I'd like to do something someday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to do this. Those are different philosophies, and you have that. Well, give me some of the dreams that are still coming up.
So my big stretch goal, and I believe it's attainable, is I want to be an international motivational speaker.
Right.
And you talk about that, keep pressing, keep pressing. There's a great analogy of a flea, a jar of fleas.
Okay.
Okay, so a flea can jump 3 feet in the air.
Right.
But if you take a mason jar and you put 10 fleas in there and you close the lid, they'll jump and they'll keep hitting the top of the lid, and then they eventually stop, and you can take the lid off and they won't jump out. Even though they can still jump 3 feet, they won't jump out.
Right.
And the reason for that is they've been conditioned because of their environment, because of how they were raised. Every once in a while you'll hear a success story about somebody who came from, you know, poverty and now
Sure.
they're super successful.
Sure.
But I think a lot of people's mindset, and it's a shift in mindset, is they feel like this is as high as I'm going to get. This is my lot in life. This is my.
They limit themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like the fleas do, because they've been conditioned or beaten down or talked to and told that they weren't going to be good enough, or the chatterbox, as I call it, the little voice inside your head.
Yeah.
It's always lying to you and telling you that you aren't good enough, or what if this happens, or what if you do that, and why take that risk? You know, it's what if you fail? So what? What if you fail?
Yeah.
You know, so but yeah, I've been truly blessed, man. I mean, just my whole life. So.
Yeah, but you've done the hard work, and you know, that's a big part of it. I think too, Jerry, to do something, I think you have to think you can do it. Number one, you know, if you're a great wrestler, if you go out in the mat and you have that mind thought of, I'm going to get my derriere kicked here today.
Probably will happen.
That is exactly what's going to happen to you. I'm not saying you're going to win because you think you're going to win, but if you go out in the field, I played a lot of football, and I never wanted to go out in the field with guys that, hey, we're going to get killed today. Hey, you stay in the bus.
Right, yeah.
You know, we'll do the best we can, but you know, so you got to think it. I think you got to sometimes write it down. I always found that if you wrote your goals down and committed them to paper, that's helpful. And then telling other people, just like you're sharing now. If you're confident enough to share it, that means that you're going to try to put an effort to do that. And then off air, you talked about, you didn't even want to use the word, which I thought was great, criticism. Yeah, tell us your philosophy on that.
So it's something that I developed because when I was coaching, how I was coached, and then even in the Marine Corps, you know, you were talked to.
Yeah, I get that.
And then I think in today's society, we're a lot thinner skinned, so we can't get talked to because we take it personal too much. So I developed this, and I call it the sandwich technique, where you compliment, you redirect, because we don't want to use that criticism word, and then you compliment. So you sandwich your message in the middle. So what happens, and try it with your spouse, try it with your coworkers, try it with anybody. What happens is when you compliment somebody, hey Tom, you're doing a great job, I really appreciate the effort, they're open to receiving that information because it's positive and it's encouraging.
Absolutely.
But by the way, you know, I was reading some of your emails, and you probably ought to tweak a few words here and there, or maybe do the spell check, just to make sure that it comes across the way I want. But man, you're just killing it. So I brought what I wanted, the message I wanted to get in the middle, so then you were more receptive to receiving the information.
Absolutely, because if you start with the harsh, people are just going to shut down, and it's the end of the deal. You got to continue with your podcast. I think you will be a national inspirational leader. You got a special quality about you with the hard work, the discipline, the imagination, and you're a Taylor star. It was an honor to chat with you today.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks so much, Jerry. Appreciate it. Tom Cole for the Taylor 3 Minute Thursday.